Hello guys. In this video I want to talk to you about Schopenhauer's take on Kant's philosophy. Okay, so this is really important if you really want to read his masterpiece, The World as Will and Idea. Kant is central. So this will perhaps clarify these. Oh, damn, excuse me. And early in The World as Will and Idea, Schopenhauer says that Kant will be our point of departure. Okay, so that's where we kind of start our journey, and let's see where it takes us. Okay, so um, it's kind of curious that the way Schopenhauer reacted to Kant is pretty different from how other German idealists reacted, such as Hegel, Fichte, Schelling. They had a different kind of interpretation of Kant. For them, they kind of rejected the thing in itself. Okay, so pretty much all post Kantian German idealists rejected the thing in itself, but Schopenhauer um, actually kept it. Okay, he thought this is central. This is really central. So like all these limitations of pure reason, that Kant set up, you know Hegel, Fichte, Schelling, and some others try to go past it. They try to go beyond it, but Schopenhauer said no. You're just being cocky and stupid. Don't go beyond the limits that Kant imposed. Okay. um, and yeah, so that's one difference, and another difference is the thing in itself. Okay, really, really central concept to Kant's philosophy. So essentially, whatever we perceive, whatever we can comprehend as taking place in space and time, that's phenomenal. Okay, that's something as an appearance. So whatever um, takes place in space and time sort of is appearance. Okay, but apart from that, you know we cannot know anything, right? Like, so whatever exists out there in the world, we can know it as an appearance, but never as a thing in itself. Like, we cannot know an object apart from what we know it as a thing in space and time. And kind of think about this. Like all of kind of physics. What does it tell you? I mean, it tells you kind of how things change in space and time, but can you get to the object itself sort of you know apart from space and time? No, you can't. That's Kant's answer. You cannot know the thing in itself. It's simply beyond human capacity to know. Okay, it's not that we are not smart enough. It's not that we haven't read enough. Like, it cannot be done. Period. Okay, um, for Kant. And you know Hegel, Fichte, Schelling, they rejected this thing in itself. They said, well, I mean, if we talk about a limit, like, to some extent we already passed beyond it. Think about, let's say, mathematics. You talk about a limit, like some functions, like a function uh, tends to, like a limit, let's say x equals 2. Like, I mean, it really, really gets close. Maybe it will never get to it. But, if you speak about 2 being a limit, you already immediately, think about going beyond it. It's like, I mean, you can't just have a limit beyond which you can never go. I mean, uh, so, like, once you say there is a limit, you already kind of pass beyond it, just by acknowledging it. It's like, if I tell you there is a fence in my backyard, that's my limit. Well, there is a something beyond that fence, right? So, and Schopenhauer did not agree with that. Okay, he thought um, we cannot know the thing in itself. Okay, there is this limit, and no, we cannot go beyond it. And Nietzsche, as much as he liked, Schopenhauer early on, he disagreed with this point as well. He really did not think there was a thing in itself. And another thing that Schopenhauer, sort of as far as his interpretation of Critique of Pure Reason is concerned, um, is he reduced, the categories of pure understanding that Kant was talking about from like 12 to just one. Okay, so Kant has, these categories, those kind of categories of understanding, these a priori tools with which we can understand the world. And Schopenhauer said that they're all garbage. Like contingency, necessity, some other categories, and he just said there is just one category of understanding, and that is causality. Okay, so he kind of got rid of a lot of, he thought that Kant made things unnecessarily complicated because he liked symmetry. That's kind of a curious thing about Kant. He does like symmetry. I mean, he has pure reason, practical reason. There is sort of a priori, there is a posteriori. He loved those antinomies. Kind of like two sides in a metaphysical argument which cannot be easily resolved. So, disregard, Schopenhauer thought there is just one category. And finally, Schopenhauer disagreed with, totally disagreed with Kant's moral philosophy. He just thought like the whole thing, it's, just a joke, this moral reason. So Kant's, third critique, critique of practical reason, Schopenhauer just thought it's, totally fictional. Okay, it does not exist. And most philosophers do kind of agree with Schopenhauer on this. Not a lot of philosophers take categorical imperative that seriously. So what are we left with? Okay, as far as Kant's Schopenhauer's interpretation of Kant. So he took Kant's thing in itself, and for Schopenhauer, the thing in itself is will. Okay. Watch my Schopenhauer video to kind of understand what will is. It's this force, it's kind of hard to translate exactly what will is. It's this force, striving, you could say energy, which exists and, which is why the world is as it is. It's just kind of, there are these forces which never stop, and you as a human being, you are a manifestation of these forces, but in a much more complicated way. Like it's not as straightforward to kind of understand human, feelings, but it's this kind of force which drives us. And that's why we get hungry, we get sexual appetites, we get all these desires, and these desires do not get satisfied, and that's why we suffer. Okay, so Schopenhauer took this kind of Kantian distinction between phenomenon and noumenon, appearance and thing in itself, and he said that the thing in itself is will. Okay, he also said that as far as human cognitive capacities, understanding and reason, well, we just sort of know the world as causal. Okay, as things being caused, one thing causing another. Okay, that's pretty much all we can know as far as pure understanding. And of course, if you read Kant, you know that reason is this kind of crazy thing which takes us beyond understanding, which takes us beyond the world as a phenomenon. And Schopenhauer did, like I said, he said that these things just cannot be known. Okay, and he was a real atheist, totally rejected speculative theology, and he said that Kant is the one who really gave us this sort of destruction of theology, you can say. So Schopenhauer said that Kant delivered a death blow to all speculative theology, essentially. So just let me kind of summarize, once again. Uh, Schopenhauer rejected Kant's categories, kept just causality. He did, believe in the thing in itself, distinct from a phenomenon, but we do know some things about the thing in itself. That is will, which kind of manifests itself in all these different ways. The world as we know it, like our knowledge is limited to whatever can be known through space and time. And he rejected, pretty much Kant's moral philosophy wholeheartedly. Although, just kind of want to make a little side note, he did think that Kant was right to say that, kind of practical reason is not the same as pure reason. Okay, so with this regard, Schopenhauer thought that Kant was on the right track. Um, kind of. I will make a separate video on Schopenhauer's moral philosophy, but um, morality cannot be grasped with pure reason. Okay, it's a different type of reason. So he thought that Kant was right about this. So that's pretty much what he thought about Kant.